Hey, welcome to Morning Jams on the Porch with Stephen Leake. I'm Stephen. It is Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. I'm doing this video a bit late in the day than I usually do it. I wasn't going to do anything, but then I came up with some ideas and I'm going to try them today. It's always going to be a beautiful day anytime I'm on the porch at my home making a video for fun, so I can reach out to people and say what's on my mind, and I get to do that in a free country, and it's going to remain that way for my little cousin and my little niece. I'm going to do everything within my power to make sure that they get to grow up in a world that is just as free as it was when I was a kid. And I'm a single middle-aged guy with no kids and no wife, and I don't have any prospects of that becoming a thing, to where I would not be fully capable of at any moment going anywhere to protect my way of life. And I know for a fact that tons of guys are in similar positions and believe that they're not going to just allow this country to be taken over by hostile people. Something is seriously wrong when I get more attention from law enforcement as a tax-paying, law-abiding small business owner as a white guy, okay, for posting silly nonsense on Facebook that would be constitutionally protected free speech. And at absolute worst, it's an unpopular political opinion. But it's not illegal to post an opinion. It's something's definitely wrong when that gets more attention than violent criminals who get released the same day they commit murder. Something is wrong and needs to be fixed, and nothing would have even come up, and it wouldn't have been even on the news had not Donald Trump gotten personally involved with it. That's a sad state of affairs. And other people need to be doing more of what I am doing, not less. And I should not be made to feel like a criminal for my free speech. Okay, I am not the problem, and that's obviously true. When I'm posting, when I am an artist, and I tell everyone that I'm an artist, and I do and I'm a singer, and I post music. For me to say silly, off-the-wall stuff is something I can do if I want. It's not a crime. Okay, I can open up any fucking social media, and the first thing that pops up is the most hateful and racist crap coming from minorities and leftists that is overt threats of mass violence against white people. And not only is it still up and not even flagged, it's everywhere. I can put on a blindfold and toss a dart at social media and hit something that's racist against white people. That if it was reversed, I'd have damn people kicking in my door somehow. Okay, we either have freedom or you do not. It's not a continuous maybe. And regular, good, civilized white folk are too scared shitless to be called racist. And at this point, if you're too scared to be called a name by people who are obviously hate everything about you, you're too sensitive. You need to get over it. Okay? It's the same people. Okay? It's the same exact demographic of people who started the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, who are not even Russians, who came there from and were New York people. There are people from Brooklyn who fucking went over as foreigners and started the Bolshevik Revolution. It's the same group of people that are now doing it to this country and just calling it socialism. And all they've done is replace the class in communism with race, and they call it critical race theory and democratic socialism. But it is communism. It's pure, unadulterated communism. It's just specifically tweaked to appeal to Americans, because it's based on race, and that's always been a target for enemies to pick at racial issues in this country. They do that because they study us and they are trying to destroy our country. If that is not obvious to you, then I don't know what to tell you. Okay, this all basically all started with President Obama. He signed an executive order in which he ended a like almost 100 years of tradition of it being illegal for the government to put out propaganda domestically, and it is now legal. And it not only can companies put out propaganda, intentional propaganda, it's something that the organized government is legally allowed to do. They don't have to tell anybody about it. They can just do it. And you can argue to whether how that is still legal, even if it's an executive order and blah 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 blah. It doesn't really matter. The fact that they're doing it is enough. That is what people need to be focused on. You first have to repeal that before anything else can happen. I mean, if you first have to stop doing the shit that is hurting you before you can think about recovering or healing. You've got to take the arrow out of our damn chest before we continue to fight. We have to stop getting our teeth kicked in first. Okay. You cannot have a government that would control everything about your system of exchange, and to the point that they would know every single transaction on the planet and would be able to shut it on and off at a whim and completely arbitrarily, and then also have say in while simultaneously there are giant social media companies that can just sense their life-saving information and control whatever they please just by tweaking an algorithm. There's so much big tech crap going on that people need to be made aware of how serious and how this can affect day-to-day life for Americans in the future before there will be any talk of a free society and shit like that. This is a unprecedented period in human history. We have never been in a period like this. There's so many things happening all at once. We've actually got to slow shit down, and we cannot jump into such dependence on technology before we study it at first. We've been letting our kids play with these smartphones without knowing how they affect human tissue, without knowing the long-term effects of the psychology of what it's doing to human development, because it hasn't even existed long enough for that study to be done before it was just given to kids. You would not hand a bunch of kids crack, and it's doing the same thing physiologically to children as the dangerous drugs and chemicals that are illegal do. It's just doing it invisibly through technology that's entertaining, but it's no different than crack cocaine and how it affects the brain. I'm sorry to be an asshole about it, but this shit's important. And you should be mad at me, and it should not be something that is blamed on me because I simply am talking about it. You should have been talking about it more from the start. It's not my fault it's come to a crisis point in our society in which innocent people are getting randomly murdered on the street, to the point that Donald Trump has to get personally involved for any justice to happen. Okay? I've said for a long time, you need to get politically involved. You need to actually go to the meetings of your city council and town council, to your state representatives, and blah 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 blah. That's how you stay informed on actually what's going on. And my friends at the John Birch Society do that. And they're the only people that I know of who actually take the time to go do stuff like that. And all I've ever said is that you, as a citizen, need to do that if you can, because that's where you will get the most direct, honest to God truth. The only thing that I've ever advocated is that you do more research and figure out things for yourself. I've never advocated violence. I've never advocated anything that was not perfectly legal or was just a political opinion to start with. Okay, and from what I understand, there is a bill sitting in the Senate that would basically end free speech as we have known it for 200 years, that would make it a felony to speak publicly criticizing Israel. Okay, that is a radical and hard break from our most fundamental traditions as Americans. And if that's something you don't want to even talk about, then I don't know what to tell you. But I'm not going to sit back and let our most precious rights that we have that have been common since the Magna Carta just get wiped. Just have let people wipe their ass with it. Okay, my family has personally fought for those rights, and damn near invented it themselves. And like for me, 200 years later, to like draw the ire of some like uh, police because I spoke publicly and made silly nonsense statements on social media is ridiculous when there's so much violence and drugs and shit going on. Like I'm a law-abiding, tax-paying, like small business owner. I contribute every day in a productive, positive way to this society and this community. And just because I wear pink tennis shoes or like say kind of like have like a punk aesthetic or whatever reason is irrelevant. Okay, like I actually contribute to my people. And I've only ever said things that were constitutional, supporting the Constitution and like freedom of religion, and shit that has been standard practice for this country. And all I've said is just we need to get back to what has proven to work instead of continuing to experiment with brand new ideology that's dangerous, that people don't like, that people don't want. It's a complete break from tradition. How is that controversial in the least? Being publicly critical of certain people almost got me involuntary committed, which is a legal process. It's a legal process that takes people's freedom. And I have a right to be pissed off about that if I want to be. All I did, I never broke the law in any way, and I was perfectly of sound mind and body making a fucking joke among my friends. Okay? And that's as far as I'm going to let it bother me. As far as I understand, it's no longer an issue. It should have never been an issue to start with. I mean, if all I do like is make music and write poetry and read books, okay, I only go to like maybe 2 restaurants, and all I do is drink coffee and make videos about the Constitution and like Jesus and stuff. If that is a crime, like what, like who would you possibly be wanting to like look at who could do anything more like wholesome and harmless? I do positive stuff that is inspirational. I'm frankly pissed off, and I have every right to feel that way. When 20 miles from here, murderers can go kill people and be out on the streets the same damn day. And it's because of activist judges and liberals and leftists who are communists, who are installed by money, donated by people who have actually said they are quoted in major publications as hating the United States and it being their mission to destroy our civilization. They're on record saying that, and they're not the ones getting in trouble. It's me, somehow. So, okay, I'm perfectly willing to let that pass, and it's no big deal, but like it shouldn't have happened to start with. And I hope you can understand, like, if it was like really any other person, they'd be making a much bigger deal of it than I am. So I've always been a team player, and I've always tried to do what's best for my community. Nothing more, nothing less. And just because I'm good at like writing poetry and books, like shouldn't make me different or have any less or more rights than anybody else. But somehow we've got to the point where there's certain demographics and racial groups in this country that get above special treatment, all kinds of free programs and initiatives, and also get like a different level of justice in which they can do pretty much whatever the fuck they feel like, and they're not going to have to do any real time or any kind of real face any real kind of consequences for it. And it's more of my fault for being white, or somehow having a lineage that did this or that 100 years ago. And that's more important than somebody actually committing murder today on the streets of America. That's exactly what they're teaching in our public schools. They're teaching people to hate America, to hate themselves, and it's destructive, and it has to stop. You cannot have people that hate the country they live in and then expect to live in a peaceful, free society. I have dated political strategists from the left, in which they would, part of their raising of their kids was kind of like this political indoctrination. And they were like, and they would interact with children in a political way to make them think a specific kind of way. That's not something that normal parents do. Okay, I was allowed to run free and be a kid, and I was taught to think for myself. That's what you should be teaching children. Kids should not be aware even that politics is even a thing. Okay, it's not that important that children need to be worrying about it. If that's what you are doing to win in an election, you need to rethink what you're doing. You shouldn't be doing just whatever illegal kind of criminal shit comes to your head to cheat at politics in this country. Conservatives don't do shit like that. They wouldn't. But they kind of almost have to at this point, or they won't have a country for them to exist in, apparently. Because the Democrats have gotten away with basically running a fucking criminal cartel out in front of everybody. And you can barely say that on social media without being attacked by people that live in echo chambers. It's an unsustainable situation. And it's all stemmed from what Barack Obama did by causing this political polarization to start with. You can trace it back to his executive order in which he undid the protections against domestic propaganda. And all of our problems have stemmed from that decision. And it's not just me saying that or pointing that specific thing out. And I'm not going to continue to risk my ass talking about it if nobody else is going to even bother to say anything. If you don't want freedom, I'm going to get it for myself and for my family. But it's up to each person to at least do something. You're going to have to at least speak up and risk somebody some leftist calling you a racist or a name. That's the least that you can do to protect your civilization. That's what you need to do. I don't want to all the time be talking about politics, but we're just it's becoming more and more of a problem. And if we're either going to deal with it, or it's going to get worse. It should not be up to the president. It should be up to Donald Trump to have to personally get involved before justice can happen. And that's the end of it. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'm not going to worry about it. And I would have said my piece, and I'm going to go about my life. But somebody at least needs to talk about it. We at least should be able to discuss these things. Okay, this is still a free country in a free society, as far as I'm aware. And we need, if you are talking, you're having public discourse. That's a good thing. It's a good sign. It's when you don't have public discourse and you're no longer talking about things. That's when shit gets dangerous, and that's what leads to political violence. These obvious hate crimes. These would not even get reported if powerful people did not have to personally involve themselves. And that should tell you how bad and shitty our media is. There's probably no greater hated institution than the American the American legacy media at this point. They've lied. They've hidden life-saving information about COVID. They have twisted public perception on Donald Trump, and too many people have seen them do it for them to they're not going to forget that. The cat is out of the bag as far as that is concerned. They have personal experience with what the media is trying to tell them, and they know it's not true. The only people that are still watching cable news at this point are boomers and older. And once those people die out, that business model is not going to even exist anymore. Because people my age are only trust podcasters who spend hours talking through stuff, and independent journalists, citizen journalists. It's not even organized for-profit journalism. They've lost too much credibility. It is like specifically citizen journalists who have the most credible stuff. That's who people listen to. It's people like me who take the time to go into length and detail to explain how I think and to explain my thinking process, where I get my information and what I think about things in an honest manner. Because everybody else has lied through their teeth at least about something or another. And look, the only way that I make money is by disability, which is barely enough to not die, and then through my creative endeavors. I have no other source of supporting myself, and I have it that way on purpose, so nobody can claim that I'm trying to cause shit on purpose. I would like to be able to just jam, and that be that. And I'm also not gonna I did not get I have been through almost a miraculous and inexplicable medical issue in which I went through a miraculous recovery. Those are the words of my doctors. I used to be almost bedridden for like a decade, and then I was not anymore. The only way that I know how to explain it is somehow God, a higher power. I don't really know. I don't know how to explain it really. But something larger and more powerful than me explicitly wanted me to get better and to do this. And that's the most logical explanation that I have for it. And I'm not gonna go through all of that and then have the women that I've been trying to marry just come down with cancer within weeks of knowing me, okay, and previous partners, life partners, die and literally not be on this earth anymore, and then go be a coward when my country is being overrun with communism. Duh. If I'm doing something I'm not supposed to, I wouldn't. First of all, it wouldn't be the case. I would not be successful, and be giving miraculous second chances that nobody can even explain if I was not meant to be here speaking to you about these things. This song is called "One Fine Day." I wrote it for my ex-girlfriend Heather. She's a Gold Star widow who lost a Marine in 2009 in Afghanistan. She's also a Methodist minister. She was diagnosed with cancer about after a week of dating me. We had to obviously put it on hold. If she gets through it, which I pray for on a regular basis, then we'll be able to have a relationship and move on with our lives. She's the person that I love most in this world right now. And I don't know even what that would mean, that I have such shitty, terrible luck. And but also at the same time, you have such miraculous things happen to me. I'm obviously charmed in some way, in which God loves me, but is also testing the shit out of me, in which I don't even know what to think about. So I don't know why somebody would hate me because of that. I do the best I can. I'm just a human guy, trying to get by. I can't help when acts of God happen around me. It's not me doing anything. When you hear this song, smile and know I love you. I'll be out there doing my thing. I'll come back to you one day. I know it hurts. Try to laugh through it. You know it'll all work out. See each other again one day. each other after all these years. Go heal and be happy. We'll see each other again one day. When you hear this song, smile. You know I love you. I'll be out there doing my thing. I'll come back for you one day. I didn't come all this way just to lose heart and quit. And never after. You get to choose. Set it up. It'll be with you. I spend the rest of my life with. And never after. But we get to choose. You hear this song. Smile. You know I love you. I'll be out there doing my thing. I'll come back for you one day. Thanks. Like, I don't make up like facts about my life that I need to even exaggerate or what's the word, embellish. Like, that's just facts of my life and shit I go through. And it's like, if it was like easy, or somehow I had something good happen where I was like given like a good, easy, cushy job, or like something great that wasn't tied to something horrific also at the same time, then I'd be upset and then I'd be suspicious that something crazy was happening. But just the fact that bad, like kind of tragic things happen to me is nothing unexpected. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's my magnet for that kind of stuff. And I'm at the same time can experience great success and wonderful like gestures of love and favor from God or whatever kind of higher powers out there doing this. But it still can also be kind of painful and horrific to go through. That's just the nature of my existence. It's perfectly okay. It's not like it's like it's not anything that I can't handle or haven't always been dealing with. I've just never really talked about it openly and publicly before. Like, I'm only kind of a conservative, and I'm only kind of championing like specifically white conservative kind of Donald Trump voices, because that's the people who need it right now. It's not minorities and like immigrants who are wanting for political power or like being heard. The only reason that Donald Trump has the power he has is because a huge chunk of the political of the public was being completely ignored by the Democrats and even the Republicans, to where they had to just go invent their own political party, and that's what the alt-right is. It's not a bunch of like cultists and shit. Like, 77 million Americans who probably your neighbors think just like you do, but they don't spend their time in echo chambers, and are able to think critically enough to realize that something not kosher is going on, to where if one TV station is saying something here, and then another TV station is saying the literal opposite thing right over here, one of those two people is lying, if not both of them together. Okay, it behooves you to go find people who are at least telling sounds like the truth, and it can be verified at least by you in an independent manner. And then, obviously, that's what you're gonna have to do from now on until the culture changes around what people allow to happen in our country. It's going to be an issue for the foreseeable future about information and what you are getting from the people supposedly in a position of trust. That is just what we are faced with. Is our specific kind of issue to deal with in the 21st century. We're gonna have to work through this problem, which is not a big deal. We could easily do so, but we have to come together and stop fighting each other first. There are people whose only job it is to sit around and think up crazy shit in scenarios to prevent. And that kind of stuff gets lots of funding and has lots of resources behind it. And anything that happens on any kind of significant scale or pattern will be something that was meant to happen, and it was intentionally done, because there's too much money and investment behind things like that affect millions of people and affect markets around the world for things to just be happening randomly and coincidentally. And that's just logic and paying attention to patterns. It's not like you don't have to have any kind of special insight or unique information to come to that conclusion. I'm really sorry that I'm sounding so angry right now, but I just, it should not take innocent, beautiful white women being brutally murdered on tape in broad daylight, and then also a president having to get personally involved for something to change is in a positive direction. Okay, shit has been run like a racket anyway for 20 years already. And it's somehow going to be my fault for talking about it for at least a good while until things change. But enough people are awake to it and know what's going on, and that is only a matter of time before it hits critical mass, and there is positive change in that direction. But it should not be all up to Donald Trump to use his powers to do shit. It should be how our system naturally functions. And the fact that it takes an act of a president personally getting involved and making calls before people lift a finger is evidence that it's in itself that the system is broken. We're going to have to basically build it from scratch, all from the bottom up again. It's all new people and all new everything. Because it was allowed to get this far. We have to completely change everything, and by change things, I mean go back to the fucking Constitution, like the founders intended, and we're not going to be able to deviate from that. We're gonna have to obey the Constitution fucking religiously, okay? And there's a way in which we can write principles of the Constitution into our algorithms, and hardwire it into the codes that run our systems, that run our AI, that run our system, run our systems. It is written into the code itself. It is based on constitutional principles, in which you have shit like Second Amendment, First Amendment, all of them, the Bill of Rights. That is enshrined into the principles and the codes that we are writing our algorithms by. That is something that can happen. That is doable. And you can do it with DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, that can literally take the place of institutions that are obviously failing us and have been turned against us. Okay, we can do this ourselves voluntarily, amongst ourselves, in our own communities, without any kind of input or legislation from anyone else. We can voluntarily take up and live by these principles in communities that we make and build ourselves. We can have community co-ops that are skill shares, in which we teach each other practical life skills. That would be just the natural expertise of our own people, teaching other people and our friends and stuff what they know, what they're good at, and then those people paying for it by teaching the teachers what they're good at. It's nothing like radical. I mean, it kind of is. It's in that it's just a different way of doing things, and it's incorporating new technology in a new way to actually enshrine freedom and liberty in our code and in our principles into the very algorithms that we run our computers and run our AI and stuff. That's something that we can do ourselves. Like I said, we can do it ourselves voluntarily in our own communities. Okay, the way that you get out from under a totalitarian system isn't by forcibly fighting the existing structure. You go sideways and you build a parallel structure that's independent of that totalitarian system. That's the only way that you can do it. You can go about creating change. You don't fight the existing structure. You don't fight the existing power. You build a new one from scratch. It's different and better. It's what you want, and you voluntarily do it amongst yourselves in small groups and networks until it just grows naturally, and more people adopt it, and it becomes a thing. And that's how it's always been. That's how change happens. That's how systemic change happens. It's not by force, and it's not by fighting even traditional politics. Nothing in the system is going to be a way to help you change that system. Unfortunately, that's not how the shit like that is built. It is built to basically treat you as a farm animal. It's going to keep you alive long enough to extort shit from you, like labor and data, basically. That helps run a system. But that's all. That's really all it's set up to do. Like, look, cops have no expectation to protect the public. If that's not the case, then what the fuck are we paying them for? They shouldn't. That has to, first of all, be changed on a legal, societal level, and stuff like that. You're gonna have to have legally binding agreements between your politicians and the public good. In the same way that a fiduciary is legally obligated to act in the best interest of its clients, you can also take that legal framework and apply it to politicians. Okay. Apparently that's what's going to have to happen so we can get out of under the thumb of foreign influence. We will have to have legally binding, enforceable by law enforcement in prison, shit like that is going to happen, in which our politicians have no choice but to act in the best interest of the public. And that is true of our police, of our lawyers, of any kind of public servant. That's one of the only ways that we can get out of this kind of tailspin of corruption. But these are all things and solutions that we can do, and we are capable of doing. And we at any time, as American citizens, can just come together and do things on our own. We have that right, we have that freedom. It is innate. You don't need permission to do so. Okay? I've had conversations with people that I admire and love. They're too worried about what they're allowed to do and what would be I don't know, it's just mind-boggling the level of caveats and kind of red tape involved in their thinking when they're obviously losing so much freedom and the society is just going to absolute shit. At this point you don't really need to worry about what specifically is kosher. You just start doing something that is productive and positive and start moving in that direction, and then later you worry about what is, you know what I mean? It's not you don't really, at this point it doesn't matter. If you don't start doing something soon, it won't matter for very much longer. And people keep accusing me of saying fire in a movie theater, but look, when innocent people are just riding the bus and minding their own business and they get murdered in broad daylight by people who should never be free to begin with because they're obviously crazy, That's not me doing something bad. That's me commenting on the state of our society. It's not me doing something wrong. It's me just looking at the obvious. It's talking about it. People are too scared to even speak about it, and that is a problem. And I'm sorry if like it's unpleasant, and that you don't want to talk about it yourself. But you don't need to be interfering with my ability to do something about it. In which I'm just using my voice as an artist and as a citizen to like try to help my society function. And that's the end. That's gonna be the end of my rant today. I don't want to beat people over the head with it, but at the same time, this kind of crazy shit doesn't have to keep happening. Tomorrow, I'm just gonna play music and try to be happy because I've been pissed off all today because of this thing. And it's gonna be stuff like that for a while. And you've got to find a way to get through it. And it's not the end of the world, but you do need to get involved because we've let other people kind of run things for too long already, and we just need to get involved and start dealing with that shit ourselves. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for listening to what I have to say. If it offends you, just don't listen to it. Okay, it's not that big of a deal if you disagree with me. It's not going to hurt my feelings. If you know, either way. I don't really have a choice but to say this because it's come to that. But anyway, I gotta go help my mom bring in groceries. So, thanks for hanging out with me today. I love y'all. Take care.